Righty-ho. Purpose. Purpose, part one of many. I'm going to make a broadcast series. The newfangled, clever arty called podcasts. Okay, in my little small space, everything is laid out. Every single thing that's out. Now this makes one sound OCD nerdish. I'm the exact opposite. It's all about perfect balance. I.e. But that's out for a reason. So that is symbolic. For a couple of months nearly. I'm going to do this in the recorder. But purpose. When you're... The first question is, what are you up against? And it kind of... The last week, I needed just a bit more roaming and taking in certain things. I always have guitar in the morning. Not because I don't actually talk enough, bizarrely. I spend a lot of time wandering around, thinking. I have my little notepad with me. And sometimes my little recorder. The first thing first. So what is the point of purpose? Well, I can just perfectly put it into one sentence. If you're middle-aged and you've had, I have never sought melodrama, disturbance, psychodrama. I saw through all the bullshit 30 years ago. Largely moved myself aside, except for travelling abroad, only to show my daughter the world, and different peoples and different modes of being. Which brings us back to, what is really the British mode of being? Anyway, in one sentence, if you can have really difficult things that have been pushed at you, my whole life is kind of... Although my head is not in Britain, hasn't been for 30 years. Sounds silly. Oh, by the way, just having Zen such that you're in the morning, having it cut down so there's only two things I need to charge, really. This phone, which has got the modem in it, the laptop. The laptop needs to be charged because you buy these little solar things, solar blocks, they break. I bought 3 before I knew, happily, I was going to be roofless. No, they all failed within 2 or 3 months. Charging up the laptop, then, using my one best cable, I put the phone in, plug it into the laptop. In other words, I charge the phone from the laptop. That works. The batteries in the laptops are better quality. Anyway, to get back to the point. In one sentence, if you're middle-aged, have had your range of life shits on you at times, in my case, actually mainly due to a man. See, I know that all women, or 99.9% of British women, I mean, let's face it, so we have a third, maybe, half, but quarter of parents in Britain have had very difficult pasts, tumult, rumpus, after with separations and child matters. All women in Britain assume that a man is damaged by the behaviour of his ex-female, well, the mother of his children. In my case, that's not the case. It was a man, the mother of my child, and when this happened 22 years ago, I thought, oh, thank God for that. Yep, she got together with somebody after a year or two of things being okay. After separation, we separated 24 years ago. A couple of years of it was all right, but the couple, of course, they take things out a bit on each other. They're in a place where they're putting grief, sadness at the failure of the two-parent thing. They put it too intensely onto one another. That's absolutely standard. There's no baddie in that. That's what happens. The mother of my child then took up with somebody. She didn't actually tell me directly, but I heard it through the grapevine, as one does of the kid, and I God, thank God for that. She'll be diverted from putting her negativity onto me. No, it became quite clear over a few months that she'd taken up with somebody so dark. So, I don't like these kind of spiritual, soul, shamanic phrases. The Spanish often speak of, you have the shade in you. I've never. It was just obvious. So, and that man, then, I'm sure he still does it. Because he was a sad, lost, hurt man, I suppose, in certain ways when he was a kid. Anyway, he's just it became crystal clear that he was jealous. It's as simple as that. I was happy with a child and took her around all over Europe and North Africa, and he had essentially walked away from his children, who were a couple of years older than mine. So he took out his guilt on my child and me. That's the story of my life, and it became so crystal, or rather the last 20 years, became so crystal clear, even though I ended up winning, and winning is the wrong word. I had a great big court case that found at the end exactly my position at the beginning, so I won. That a happy, healthy, between houses, alternate week existence was perfectly alright. So what? But 6 years later, it seemed he hated that he'd lost, because that's how he considered it, and took the most terrible revenge using a child. Anyway, so my torture inside is not by a woman who put it in a woman's name, but there we go. Anyway, in one sentence, if you can exist with very, very traumatic things coming into you from time to time, my life for 20 years, the only traumas except some incredibly welcome illnesses, just one else I should say, are connected with my one beloved family member. Anyway, who isn't. Children don't recover from that stuff. The point. If you can sleep 8 hours, as I did last night, almost always I sleep 8 hours, or 7.5 to 8 hours. If you can sleep 8 hours, that's great. That's what it's all about. That's what the purpose is. But for that, you have to understand your society. This is not my society, but you have to understand it. You have to have come to terms with it, even if this society, to me, is simply sad, lost and perverse. Right, I'm going to carry on into a podcast in a minute. That shirt I will refer to is a fancy shirt. I quite like it these days. Anyway, and just having your life the absolute minimum. Like for example, I'm going to more or less stop. Although I'm going to make recordings over the next few months. I started doing that a couple of years ago, but I was not quite in the right place yet. Like my essential equipment is to have that because of the design fault. That means these, even despite being £100 new, they always break, and the little lid at the bottom breaks. I'm going to today clean that, but I'm also on sleep. Prefer not to have to, but like sleeping here, this car park, which is meant to, but no one seems to come round. Just now and again, you need your earplugs. I'm going to wash my earplugs today. Having things just minimal is wonderful. And balanced here, poised here, I can super efficiently function for a few hours. And it's about purpose, except I shall carry on onto my recorder. This is not a cause. It's about affinity and friendship. There's a river just there. That river I'm going to get water to wash just a few clothes. It's buggered. And actually these rivers here are a bit smaller, meaning in the marches they come down from the whole mass of mid Wales. They're a bit smaller scale here. They would be easier to protect, to improve. And wasn't the plan. Just going around speaking with some people who I encountered here and there. They care. I had the most interesting encounter yesterday. I'm going to put that encounter into my little podcast. But yeah, if you can have 8 hours sleep, all's well. And your energy's great, your focus is great. And I lament for 5 years, longer, almost everybody, middle class let's call them, who one meets, and working class, they all say, oh, my sleep's in a terrible condition. In fact, you see, I do have a great sadness. One, came to terms with a damaged kid years ago, but my kind of number one underwing grasshopper, who I encountered 7 years ago, who's wonderful, but he should be communicating with me. His sleep went a few months ago, and that is almost always precursor to really, that's when the dark thoughts, the depression, the anxiety just gets worse and worse. And he's like me, like a very clean living person, but he's almost exactly the same. I don't think he drinks at all. He has the odd organic roll-up fag. But no, when he can't keep his sleep going, and he's a soulful, really wise young man. Time and time again, the last 5 years, you encounters. You see, it's the ultimate kind of. It is it's worse than a plague. It's like it is Cormac McCarthy's road. You encounter useful people who you want to have an ongoing, useful, good dialogue with, and then you hear, oh, my sleep goes, because they then can't function. They don't have the energy to collaborate, to participate, or in his case, I mean, he's like, I so enjoyed kind of guiding him a bit. Oh yes, I'm going to put up, I watched the John Mearsheimer talk yesterday, and that's important because even him, he got sucked in a year ago. Was it a year ago? Longer. To the version of, oh my God, the valiant Ukrainians are fighting. I'm going to put the rest in my little talkie. See, the only thing that matters, the only thing I need is that. Because when you have the odd little roll up, your fingers get a bit stained. But, yes, right. The real thing. You see, on Farming Today, the official figures are that the numbers used to be that a patient would go 3 times a year to the doctor. They say it's now 8 times a year, their average patient. I have great nails. Try to get the light. It's very difficult. But 10, 15 years, I had fungus in my nails. Now, it more or less went away 3 or 4 years ago, but then it came back last year for a few months. But I don't even notice it. And it's like, I looked down at my nails yesterday. It's like, wow, they're back in really great condition. Now, there's a little fable within that I shall get to shortly. Okie dokie. Is there anything else that I've left out that's... You see, it might look like a mess, but everything here, everything that's got to be processed, it's just about processing things. They're there. It's time to put some notices out. I know what I need for the next year. So my sticky back plastic is there purely to cover. 3 or 4 weeks ago I wrote a little advert I want to put out. I need to find a collaborator for some good material, and it's purely just to guide. And you have to use a camera because you have to show it's real. You have to show this in this day and age that you're constant. Otherwise people rightly suspect that you're up and down all over the place. Because what is the purpose? The point in this difficult, weird modern paradigm that's been ongoing for 50 years, it's like, it's actually to be constant. That's one of the purposes. To be centered and at peace, kind of almost all the time. Because it's great. I never have down days. Never. In the summer, and this happens particularly when you're living in a small space like this, which I don't really want to permanently, but I accept it. If I have to, I have to. In the summer, you don't fall to sleep till 10:30 because of the light, because of the ambient light, even if you're knackered. And quite often I kind of wake up at 4:30 with the dawn chorus, which you don't get so much now. So that means for May, June, summer, July, you're down on sleep. It's the natural way. I don't know what the evolved state is that would deal with that. Anyway, I'm waffling off onto something which is like a book. But now August's come along, goes dark at 9 o'clock at night, absolutely back to 8 hours sleep. It's magnificent. That's all that matters in life ultimately. Because you feel great. I could deal with anything today in a calm, easy way. That's all that is the purpose, to reach that state. It's not zen, it's just at peace and centeredness and as much total full bodily health as possible. And I'm even, you see, what is, in fact, there you go. Yesterday, there's one little film I want to make. Or rather, it's not a film, it's just, I want to say something about a couple of really terrible, sad, tragic events. A long time ago. They're another life, another person almost. But I put it into my head yesterday evening, or it just came, how I could weave together a couple of issues, so to speak. Now, normally I take a lot of notes. I make notes. See, I got notes. There's notes from yesterday, there's another notes. But as I drifted off, I was thinking, do you know what? I don't need to write them down. Because it'll come back in the morning. And it has. That's great. That's lovely. That means your mind is in great condition. There's no static from everybody and all their heaviness and all the worry and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Oh. To be in that condition is just amazing. There is no specific one key. I do think that understanding who we are and what our society is, particularly through 2020, is the absolute key to it. Speaking about it honestly, because it's the lack of authenticity and the fear of actually saying who we are, which I'm going to do into my podcasty doodah. Right,